Imagine waking up at 2 a.m. and not reaching for your phone. No glow, no notification, no clock, just absolute darkness. So thick you can't see the ceiling above your face, your heart rate climbs, you listen, and somewhere in the distance, something moves. That feeling. The one crawling up your spine right now just from imagining it. That wasn't a moment for your ancestors. That was every single night of their lives for 300,000 years. We talk about human history like it's mostly about what we built during the day, agriculture, cities, empires, but we almost never talk about what happened after the sun went down. Because for the vast majority of human existence, nighttime wasn't downtime. It was something far more complicated, far more dangerous, and far more interesting than anything happening in the daylight. Here's the number that should stop you cold. Of all the hours humans have ever been alive, roughly half of them happened in darkness. That's not a rounding error, that's 300,000 years of nights that modern people have basically no mental model for. And buried inside those nights is an entirely different version of what it means to be human. Let's start where night actually started, not with sleep, but with survival. Before fire became a reliable tool, the moment the sun disappeared, your options collapsed. You climbed something. You wedged yourself into a crack in rock. You went completely still and hoped nothing that hunted in the dark had already found you. This wasn't paranoia. Human eyes are genuinely terrible at night. We see in color and detail during the day better than almost any other animal on Earth. But we traded that by giving up what nocturnal predators have. Leopards, spotted hyenas, lions. They have a reflective layer behind the retina that amplifies dim light. When they're hunting at 2 a.m., they are operating at near full efficiency. When your ancestor was stumbling around in that same darkness, they were essentially blind. So, for an enormous stretch of human prehistory, nighttime meant stillness, silence, vulnerability pressed against a rock wall, waiting for morning. And then fire changed the entire equation. The oldest confirmed evidence of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, roughly 1 million years ago. But the fire that truly reorganized human life wasn't just a source of heat, it was a wall. A campfire burning at roughly chest height creates an illuminated perimeter of about 30 feet within that circle. Almost no large predator will approach the combination of light, smoke, and the sound of crackling wood. Trip something ancient in their nervous system. They stop. They wait at the edge. And your ancestors, for the first time in the history of their species, had a safe place to exist after dark. Researchers studying present-day hunter-gatherer communities in East Africa have documented this clearly. Groups that maintain fires through the night experience dramatically fewer predator attacks, not slightly fewer. Dramatically. The fire wasn't symbolic protection. It was a functional boundary between life and death. But here's the part that gets genuinely strange and profound. That circle of safety around the fire didn't just protect bodies, it created something entirely new. Time. Unstructured, unbothered, genuinely free time. Before fire extended the evening, a day ended when the light did. 8 hours in winter, 12 in summer. Fire handed humanity somewhere between 2 and 4 extra usable hours every single day. That sounds like a small thing, until you do the math across 1,000 generations. And realize you're looking at the origin of everything we call culture. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Weisner published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. After spending years sitting in the camps of the Jews Huanze Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth whose lifestyle offers a window into how early humans actually operated, she recorded their conversations and categorized them. During daylight hours, roughly 80% of what people discussed was functional. Who's tracking which animal? which water source is drying up, disputes over resources, practical coordination for survival. Then the sun went down, and the fire came up. At night, 81% of conversations shifted to something else entirely: stories. Think about what that means. Every myth ever told, every religion, every origin story, every moral framework passed between generations. It almost certainly started with a group of people sitting in a circle of firelight, with nothing to look at but each other and nothing to guide them but imagination. During the day, language was used to navigate the world as it was. At night, fire gave us the luxury to invent worlds that could be. This extra time became an incubator for the human mind. Think about how major that shift is. If your entire existence is spent in a loop of gathering, hunting, and hiding, your brain has no space to build complex abstractions. It has no room for philosophy. The fire changed the biology of our schedule. By turning the dark from a period of absolute terror into a zone of social connection, we did something no other creature on Earth had ever done. We conquered the clock. In modern terms, we look back at these ancient campfires as primitive. We think of them as basic survival mechanisms, but they were actually the very first laboratories of human consciousness. Inside that 30-foot circle of light, the rules of nature were temporarily suspended. Inside that circle, a human didn't have to behave like an animal constantly scanning the brush for eyes in the dark. They could close their eyes. They could laugh. They could think. This structural change didn't just alter how we spent our evenings, it fundamentally changed how our brains developed. The heat of the fire allowed us to digest cooked food faster, redirecting massive amounts of metabolic energy directly to our growing brains. And the time provided by the fire gave those larger brains something to do. It's easy to look at our modern world, with our neon signs, our illuminated highways, our 24-hour supermarkets, and think we have completely severed our connection to that ancient past. We believe we have completely conquered the night. But the biology doesn't lie. Our internal architecture is still completely tuned to the rhythm of the flame. Think about what happens when you turn off the main overhead lights in a modern room and leave only a single lamp burning in the corner. The mood changes instantly. The atmosphere softens. Your focus narrows. Your posture relaxes. That isn't a learned cultural preference. That is a 300,000-year-old physiological response. Your brain recognizes that the sun has gone down and that you are now safe inside the perimeter. And what do we do when we gather around our modern glowing screens late at night? We watch dramas, we stream stories, we listen to creators analyze the mysteries of the universe. We are still sitting in a circle in the dark, staring into the flickering light, trying to make sense of the world outside our boundary. The technology has upgraded from wood and ash to liquid crystal and light-emitting diodes, but the human behavior remains entirely identical. We are still terrified of the absolute dark. We are still hardwired to seek comfort in a shared narrative when the sun disappears. So the next time you find yourself awake in the early hours of the morning, watching the glow of a screen illuminate an otherwise pitch-black room, don't just think of it as modern distraction. Realize what you are actually doing. You are occupying the exact same space your ancestors did 1,000 generations ago. You are keeping the darkness at bay. You are seeking the safety of the perimeter. And you are waiting, just like they did, for the light to return.